What happens when not one, but two shocking confessions tear apart everything we thought we knew? The murder revealed, Pham Shiqi and Gao Taiyu have admitted their guilt in Yu Mangong's death, and in a twist no one saw coming, actress Song Yiren has been unexpectedly entangled in the scandal. Is she a victim, an accomplice? Simply caught in the crossfire of lies and betrayal? Let's join Red Carpet Reveal to uncover the shocking truth together, right now. What happens when not one but two men step into the spotlight and admit guilt for the same horrifying crime? Unraveling a mystery that has haunted millions? The shocking death of Yu Mangong, once considered an accident, then branded as a crime after Pham Shiqi's explosive confession, has taken yet another turn. This time, Gao Taiyu has come forward, declaring his own involvement in the murder, sending the nation spiraling into disbelief. And just when the public thought the truth could not become more complicated, another name was dragged into the storm, Song Yiren, an actress who had never been linked to the tragedy until now. Her sudden entanglement has set off an inferno of speculation, painting her as either a victim, a witness, or something much darker. To understand the seismic impact of these confessions, one must first return to the man at the center of it all, Yu Mangong. He was not just another star in China's entertainment galaxy, he was a beacon of hope. A figure who embodied the idea that sincerity and talent could conquer a world often consumed by superficiality. His rise was meteoric. From his early days, when few believed he would break into the industry, to the heights of his career as both actor and singer, he carried with him a rare authenticity. Fans adored him for his ability to portray vulnerability on screen, his music that echoed the pain and dreams of youth, and his reputation for kindness off camera. His smile had the power to disarm even the harshest critic, and his artistry earned him admirers far beyond national borders. That is why his death on September 11th was so devastating. Reports described him as having fallen to his death under mysterious circumstances. The word accident repeated across headlines. Even as the official story spread, it was met with suspicion. How could a man so careful, so grounded, victim to something so sudden? Fans began to question every detail, the missing surveillance footage, the vague accounts of witnesses, the strange silences from those who had been with him that night. For weeks, grief blended with suspicion, and the tragedy became a riddle. Then came the confession that shattered everything. Pham Shiqi, a fellow actor whose career had often intersected with Yu Mangong's, stood before cameras and admitted, "I was the one who ended Yu Mangong's life." His words spread like wildfire, turning the nation's mourning into outrage. Overnight, Pham Shiqi transformed from respected actor to reviled villain. Fans wept harder, unable to reconcile the image of the man they had once cheered with the murderer he claimed to be. The entertainment industry recoiled, cutting ties with him immediately. For a time, his confession seemed to close the case, even if unease lingered. But the unease never truly faded, and for good reason. His confession, dramatic as it was, left holes. It lacked details, failed to explain motive, and raised questions that no one could answer. Was it guilt speaking, or manipulation? Was Pham Shiqi truly the sole villain, or was he covering for someone else? These questions remained unanswered until the day Gao Taiyu stepped forward. His admission shook the nation all over again. Gao Taiyu, another actor with ties to both Yu Mangong and Pham Shiqi, declared his guilt as well. "I, too, am responsible," he said, his voice trembling as if haunted by ghosts. The nation froze. How could two men claim responsibility for the same murder? Were they both guilty? Or were they weaving a web of lies meant to confuse? Gao Taiyu's words overlapped with Pham Shiqi's, but they also diverged. He described being present during the final hours, of playing a role in the chain of events that led to Yu Mangong's death. Yet his account did not match Pham Shiqi's entirely. Instead, it suggested layers, roles played by multiple people, each complicit in different ways. Forensic experts, legal analysts, and journalists scrambled to untangle the contradictions. Theories spread like wildfire. Perhaps one had acted while the other had covered. Perhaps both had been involved in different stages. Or perhaps, chillingly, they were confessing to shield someone else. And then, just as the story reached its peak of confusion, the name Song Yiren entered the fray. For fans, the shock was unbearable. Song Yiren, known for her elegance, talent, and clean public image, had never before been associated with Yu Mangong's death. Yet suddenly, her name surfaced in leaked testimonies and whispered rumors. Reports hinted that she had been present on the night of September 11th. That she had seen more than she admitted. That her silence had allowed lies to fester. Some suggested she was an unwitting witness, dragged in simply because of proximity. Others speculated darker possibilities, that she was entangled romantically with one or more of the men. That she had knowledge of the murder long before it was confessed. The public could not comprehend it. Fans of Song Yiren defended her fiercely, pointing to her years of spotless reputation and her history of professionalism. But others began to dig, searching for connections, however tenuous, between her and the two men now claiming guilt. Every photo, every social media post, every past interview was dissected for clues. Was that a glance exchanged between her and Gao Taiyu at an event? Did she mention Pham Shiqi too warmly in an interview? Was her silence after Yu Mangong's death more suspicious than sorrowful? The speculation was endless, and the truth remained elusive. For Yu Mangong's family, the confessions were both relief and torment. On the one hand, they finally had people admitting responsibility for the loss that had destroyed their lives. On the other, the contradictions between the confessions, and now the dragging in of Song Yiren, reopened every wound. His mother, already transformed into a figure of resilience in her quest for truth, demanded clarity. "Do not use my son's death as a stage for lies," she declared in an emotional interview. "If you are guilty, tell the truth. If you are hiding something, confess everything. My son deserves nothing less." Her words resonated across the nation, turning public grief into renewed fury. Meanwhile, the entertainment industry found itself once again under siege. Producers scrambled to cut ties with those implicated. Fans pulled endorsements, and agencies issued carefully worded statements of shock and sympathy. Behind the scenes, whispers of corruption grew louder. If both men were guilty, as they claimed, who else knew? Who else had stayed silent? And why was Song Yiren's name now being pulled into the fire? Was she truly guilty of something? Or was she being used as a scapegoat to divert attention from darker truths? As part one of this story closes, the nation stands on edge. Two men have confessed to the same murder, their accounts overlapping and contradicting in ways that only deepen the mystery. A woman once thought untouchable has been unexpectedly entangled. Her name now linked to a scandal that may destroy careers and reputations forever. And at the center of it all remains the same haunting truth: Yu Mangong, beloved star, son, and symbol of hope, taken far too soon. And the real story of his death is still buried in shadows. We'll dive deeper into the aftermath, the motives, the legal fallout, the cultural firestorm, and the terrifying question that still lingers: if both Pham Shiqi and Gao Taiyu are guilty, and Song Yiren is entangled, what truly happened on that night? And who else is still hiding in the darkness? Storm unleashed by the dual confessions of Pham Shiqi and Gao Taiyu did not fade with time. It grew darker, more complex, and far more terrifying. Overnight, Yu Mangong's death was no longer just a tragedy but the centerpiece of a scandal that exposed the rotten underbelly of an entire industry. Two men had admitted guilt. Their stories did not align. Their words overlapped in places, diverged in others, and together painted a picture that was more puzzle than confession. At the same time, Song Yiren's name, once untarnished, was dragged into the maelstrom, turning her life into a battlefield of accusation and suspicion. The world wanted answers, and every passing hour seemed only to raise more questions. A wave of analysis came from the media. Journalists replayed every second of Pham Shiqi's and Gao Taiyu's confessions, dissecting tone, phrasing, and body language. Some experts insisted that both the men were telling partial truths, each covering up aspects that implicated more powerful figures. Others suggested that one or both of them had been pressured into confession, their words less an admission of guilt and more an act of protection. Contradictions became glaring. Pham Shiqi claimed he acted out of rage, a spontaneous eruption of jealousy. Gao Taiyu, however, spoke of planning, of manipulation, pulled into a scheme larger than himself. Together, their words suggested a plot that could not be explained away by individual anger or rivalry. The involvement of Song Yiren complicated everything. Career, once spotless, now faced annihilation. Headlines screamed her name alongside words like scandal and murder. For days, she remained silent, A silence that critics interpreted as guilt and her supporters defended as shock. When she finally spoke, her words were simple but resolute. I am not guilty. I did not harm Yu Mangong. I want the truth as much as you do. But her statement did little to calm the storm. Skeptics pointed to inconsistencies in her timeline, to unverified claims that she had been at the same gathering as Yu Mangong on the night of his death. Her fans, meanwhile, rallied behind her, creating hashtags like Stand with Song Yiren and Justice for Yiren, insisting that she was being scapegoated to shield others. Legal authorities, under immense public pressure, had no choice but to reopen the case yet again. Investigators called in witnesses who had long remained silent, combed through phone records, and re-examined evidence dismissed months earlier. The reopened files revealed troubling details. There were messages exchanged between Gao Taiyu and Song Yiren days before the tragedy, though their content was ambiguous. There were unexplained financial transactions linked to both Pham Shiqi and Gao Taiyu, raising suspicions of bribery or hush money. Accounts of arguments, overheard by staff, between Yu Mangong and his colleagues in the days leading up to his death. None of it provided definitive answers, but all of it pointed to a far more complex web than the public had ever imagined. The cultural impact was explosive. Across China and beyond, fans reignited vigils, transforming mourning into protest. Crowds gathered outside government buildings, chanting Yu Mangong's name and demanding full transparency. In cities around the world, international fans organized demonstrations of their own, carrying banners that read "Truth for Mangong" and "Silence is complicity." Online, fan communities turned into investigative collectives, analyzing every piece of available evidence. Amateur sleuths produced timelines, diagrams, theories more detailed than official reports, and their work spread virally, sometimes even influencing media coverage. Meanwhile, the entertainment industry quaked. Cut ties with everyone connected to the scandal. Producers canceled projects featuring Pham Shiqi Gao Taiyu, and even Song Yiren, regardless of her guilt or innocence. Agencies scrambled to distance their stars from the controversy, while insiders whispered that more names were bound to fall. Whispers of corruption grew louder, with rumors that powerful investors had orchestrated both the crime and its cover-up. Some claimed that Yu Mangong had discovered information too dangerous to reveal, and that his death had been inevitable once he stumbled upon secrets meant to remain hidden. The personal toll was devastating. Yu Mangong's family, shattered by loss, now found themselves thrust back into the spotlight. His mother, whose strength had become legendary, once again stood before cameras, her voice trembling with both sorrow and fury. "My son deserves the truth," she repeated. "Do not hide behind lies. Do not drag innocent people into the shadows. Tell the world what happened." Her words struck deep, reminding everyone that behind the headlines was a family destroyed, a life stolen, and a truth still buried. Song Yiren herself became a symbol of the scandal's complexity. Was she a victim, unfairly dragged into the chaos? Or was she entangled in ways she refused to admit? Her career, once marked by elegance and talent, now hung in limbo. Fans clung to her every word, parsing her statements for clues. Dissected her silence, her body language, past connections to Yu Mangong and the two men who confessed. Every move was scrutinized, her every absence noted. Had become, unwillingly, a central figure in a story that had already destroyed too many lives. The legal proceedings grew chaotic. Defense attorneys argued that the confessions could not be trusted, citing contradictions and potential coercion. Prosecutors, however, insisted that the overlapping details proved collusion, that both men had roles to play in the crime. He faced the impossible task of weighing words that seemed both damning and unreliable. And through it all, the public watched, debated, and demanded answers. Was Yu Mangong killed by one man, by two men, by forces even larger than those who stood before the court? Globally, the case became a symbol of the dangers of fame. Documentaries were produced. National outlets ran investigative specials. Yu Mangong's name trended in languages far beyond Mandarin. He was remembered not only as a fallen star but as a martyr of truth. A man whose death had forced the world to confront the corruption lurking in the shadows of celebrity culture. His dramas and songs surged in popularity. Face appeared on murals and posters, and his legacy grew even as the truth of his death remained elusive. As time passed, the contradictions only deepened. Pham Shiqi and Gao Taiyu continued to insist on their guilt. Yet their accounts never fully aligned. Yiren continued to proclaim her innocence. Yet her name remained tied to the scandal in ways that no statement could erase. The investigation uncovered layers of deceit. Never a definitive conclusion. And so the mystery persisted. Resolved, haunting, and more compelling than ever. In the end, the murder of Yu Mangong became more than a crime, it became a cultural reckoning. It forced fans, officials, the industry itself to confront uncomfortable truths. It questions about power, corruption, and silence. It exposed the fragility of trust in a world built on image. And through it all, one voice remained unbroken, that of Yu Mangong's mother. Unstoppable pain had transformed into unyielding strength. And for truth echoed louder than any confession. Louder than any accusation. Louder than the noise of speculation. The story of Yu Mangong's death is still not over. 2 men have confessed. 1 woman has been dragged into the storm. Countless questions remain unanswered. But one fact is undeniable, Yu Mangong's memory lives on. Carried by the millions who refuse to let his truth be buried. His mother's courage. His fans' devotion. And the weight of his legacy ensure that the search for justice will continue. The confessions may be contradictory. Entanglements may be confusing. But the fight for truth has never been clearer. As the lights of fame flicker and the shadows deepen, one lesson remains. In the world of power and illusion, truth is the most dangerous force of all, and the most necessary. Yu Mangong's life was cut short. The story has become eternal. A haunting reminder that no matter how long it takes, lies cannot hold forever. And until the full truth is revealed, the voices of those who loved him will not be silenced. 2 men have confessed. 1 woman's name has been entangled. Yet the truth of Yu Mangong's death remains as haunting as ever. What began as an accident, then became a confession, exploded into a storm of contradictions, suspicions, and unanswered questions. Pham Shiqi and Gao Taiyu's admissions have shaken the nation. And Song Yiren's unexpected involvement has turned grief into scandal, hope into fury, and silence into a battle cry. But through it all, Yu Mangong's memory endures. Mother's unyielding strength, his fans' relentless demand for answers, and the world's refusal to let his story fade have ensured that his voice, though silenced in life, still echoes in every call for justice. It may still be buried, but it cannot remain hidden forever. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey into tragedy, confession, and revelation. Don't forget to like, share, and leave your thoughts, because your voice keeps the search for justice alive. And as always, stay tuned. Red Carpet Revealed will continue uncovering the secrets they don't want you to know.